This is Danny in London who wants to know why the God of Abraham is more likely than all the others based on the Big Bang and science. Go for it.
Not exactly the wording, but I'll say what I say, and then you can determine that later. First of all, how are you? I didn't really listen to the show during COVID. Has everyone been well?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Let's get to the topic.
That was really, I couldn't understand what you said, though.
Oh, did I cut off? I haven't listened to the show in a while, and I wanted to check everyone has been okay during COVID.
Yeah. Oh, I'm apart from being locked in my home since March and doing the show remotely. Yeah, I'm all right.
It did get me thinking about maybe the need for certain more animal consumption regulations and quarantine, which is in the Bible, but that's not a basis for belief in the Bible. But it's pretty cool that, well, not cool, but it was interesting that they were a bit ahead of their time. I wanted to speak about the origin of the universe and the origin of time, space, and matter. Now, even if we don't know, well, if there is a cause to time, space, and matter, which is, I guess, what we're looking for if we talk about a God. If there's a God, we don't know, regardless of what I'm talking about, even put the word God aside, because that implies something like Zeus or a deity or a really upset being. If there is a cause to time, space, and matter, even if we don't know whether it's conscious or not, so putting consciousness of it aside just for a moment, because we need to kind of go in steps. If there is a cause to time, space, and matter, surely it needs to be irrespective. Its existence needs to be irrespective to time, space, and matter, which, in my understanding, eliminates, it doesn't prove the God of Abraham, but it eliminates every other God besides that God, because as far as the Jews understand the God of Abraham, it is timeless, it is spaceless, it is immaterial, and therefore it's not that it proves that that God is real, it's that it eliminates absolutely every other one.
So first of all, you've lumped together several things as if there's a single cause for time and space and matter, and that precludes the notion that something has always existed and that what we're seeing with like time and Big Bang cosmology is a change from what was to what is. Meanwhile, I don't see how that's ruled out every other God, and I'm not convinced that it rules in the Abrahamic God, because it's not like the Abrahamic God is listed as necessarily transcendent of space and time. Just that it can move and operate independent of space and time doesn't mean that it could have existed before space and time. As a matter of fact, the notion of before time is already so nonsensical that I don't see how anything, God or otherwise, conscious or otherwise, could survive that. I mean, how do you talk about something that existed before time? Because existence is temporal. Existence requires time. You can't exist for 0 seconds.
Did I say before? I said irrespective. So
Okay.
Not necessarily before, but the fabric of time and space as we know it are bound, and matter requires space. So in your original rebuttal,
sure,
they
but
are inherently connected.
I know matter. So I get it. Matter requires space, but time it doesn't necessarily require either. And there's no reason to think that matter and space didn't always exist, that what we're talking about is an expansion, not a creation.
So therefore, and I take your point as valid, because there's still a debate, as far as I'm aware, whether the universe is eternal or not eternal. Is that correct?
No, not the universe. No. Our local presentation of the universe has a beginning, but that doesn't tell us about the cosmos, which is whatever everything is, whether it's multiple universes, a multiverse, or anything else. But also causation, existence is necessarily temporal, which means you can't have existence for 0 time. And causation requires time, as in something happened at this time that goes to this time, which means it doesn't make sense and breaks down the second you start talking about time beginning.
Only as far as we've observed.
Correct, but I'm not interested in what we haven't observed. You don't get to just speculate and say that that's reasonable because we haven't observed it yet.
Oh, you're interested in multiverses.
No, I'm not actually interested in multiverses. That's not my field of expertise. I'm just pointing out that your simplistic notion fails because causality requires time, so there can't be a cause to time, and existence requires time, so there can't.
Sure that it does.
So there can. Wow.
Because I'll tell you why. Let me just make the point. We're basing that on our observations within a time-bound observable universe. So therefore, within that time-bound observable universe, where things are bound to the construct of time-space, causality requires time, because things happen within seconds and nanoseconds.
Right. So what you're appealing to, what you're appealing to is a type of causation which has never been demonstrated, for which we have zero evidence for. That is the foundation, is that you are appealing to a special type of causation which you cannot demonstrate.
So therefore, are you deducting from that or concluding from that that the universe or the cosmos is eternal? That the physically observable is eternal?
The physically observable, our local universe. I'm not presuming that it's eternal at all. Wow. Have you got the show playing to where it's echoing back at us, or are you just interrupting over and over?
I'm just interrupting.
Okay. So the position we're in is we don't have an explanation for the origin of the universe because it's not something we can investigate, and we are blocked and prohibited from investigating it. And so the correct answer is, I don't know what caused the universe, or if a cause is even the right word for it. I don't know if something could be before time or outside of time, because that doesn't make any sense. You are appealing to causality that has not been demonstrated and could not be demonstrated in order to justify claiming that your solution is the most likely. I mean, I know you haven't said this demonstrates God exists, but your point seems to be that of the potential explanations, the Abrahamic God is the most likely, right?
What I'm doing is a bit of an either or, similar to what you did before with the Lord Jesus. Time always existed, or time didn't always exist. If time always existed, then
correct.
Right.
I get it. And Big Bang cosmology shows that time didn't always exist. That we don't know for sure that that's correct, because we don't know anything absolutely. But
yeah.
Big Bang cosmology has time beginning, but it doesn't have matter and space beginning.
Okay, so let's remove them. I'm happy to take a step back, no problem at all.
But
the time didn't.
Well, I think we can solve this really quickly then, Danny. Do you have a way to demonstrate what was the origin of time?
So the origin of time is timeless. Irrespective, I can't go from A to Z.
No, how do you know that? How do you prove that?
No, because you could have a multiverse with a different type of time, and then our universe begins with its own local time. And so maybe time always exists in another form.
That's time.
What?
That's time. Why are you making up another time just to get around it?
Because our local time, just like our local space, is
another type of time.
I have no interest in talking to you then.
All right.
I mean, I do. I genuinely do. But you asked a question and I couldn't. The thing is, we have the local time of the universe, which our current cosmology shows had a beginning, right?
Yeah. I dropped him, Matt.
Oh, crap. I shouldn't have said what I said. That's entirely my fault. So here's the thing. I'm not, basically Danny accused me of inventing another time that was just time. No, it's not. And here's the example. I live in the universe, the same one that Jim does, as far as I can tell. Mm-hmm. And so I can pull up my clock and say it's 5:57 here, Central Time, 17:57. And Jim can say, yes, that's the case. Now, I can have a Sims game running on my computer, and it has its own clock and its own time. And I can pause it and I can turn it off and I can speed it up and I can slow it down, because I exist outside of the timeline of that Sims universe. Now, we don't know if there's another timeline in a multiverse or something else of which ours is an independent, isolated part. I'm not suggesting that that is the case. I'm not appealing to super time. I'm saying you can't demonstrate, Danny, that that's not the case. But you have to assume that it's not the case. You have to assume that time is just time, rather than our local time. And yet we know from relativity that that can't be the case even within our universe.
Right. And Big Bang cosmology is the current best explanation that we have. You and I both know of a physicist at UT who is working on an alternate theory that requires fewer assumptions and doesn't have some of the problems that Big Bang does, such as dark matter and dark energy, and some of the other issues that we have because of that. And he has fewer issues. So it'll be interesting to see what the results of that are. But, Big Bang theory is currently the best explanation. There are others. Yeah.